This is QTV News coming to you live from our studios on Caraba Avenue, and I am Jenna Bosonko. Thanks for joining us. Here are the main news headlines. A high-level presidential delegation from the Republic of Korea held talks with President Barrow on Monday linked to a project to address food security in the Gambia. As the National Assembly launches an investigation into the acute kidney injury deaths, the Executive Director of the Medicines Control Agency and the Registrar of the Pharmacy Council submitted documents to the Select Committee on Health relating to the importation and regulation of medicines and pharmacies in the Gambia. Traffic congestion in urban Gambia is a nightmare for motorists, passengers and pedestrians, especially during rush hour. We hear from some drivers and commuters on the issue. On the sidelines of the 73rd Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, members of the Friends of the Art held a forum on the negative impact of industrial agro-commodities companies on the environment. And in sports news, Konbe FC have been relegated after finishing bottom of Group D in the Birkama Nautan. Well, those were the main headlines, and now the news in detail. Do stay. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV News, and I am Jenna Bosonko. Now, as the National Assembly launches an investigation into the acute kidney injury, AKI deaths, the Executive Director of the Medicines Control Agency and the Registrar of the Pharmacy Council appeared before the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health on Monday to submit documents relating to the importation and regulation of medicines and pharmacies in the Gambia. And Sumana Isonyasi has the rest of that story.
As the police continue with their investigations, the Select Committee on Health, Refugees, Disaster and Humanitarian Relief has also initiated a parliamentary inquiry into the AKI deaths to unearth the truth and circumstances surrounding the incident, which has so far claimed the lives of at least 70 children in the Gambia. And as they summon officials of the Medicines Control Agency and Pharmacy Council to this committee hearing, Amadou Kamara, the chairperson of the Select Committee on Health, stresses, among other issues, the need to get to the bottom of this national disaster and hold accountable those found culpable.
The effects of the contaminated medical syrups linked to the death. C, the impact to access primary healthcare services on emergency cases, especially for children. D, the culpability of the suspected importer and the pharmacy link to the contaminated drugs.
In submitting the requested documents, the Executive Director of the Medicines Control Agency, Makiu Jane Kaira, says apart from the regulations cover letter and guidelines for licensing as importer of medicine and related products, all other documents have already been submitted. She was, however, told to have the two remaining documents submitted to the committee before close of work on Monday.
The documents produced and presented for importation, I think that one you have confirmed that they're available. The press releases also have been confirmed as available. And what we have done is actually included some additional documentation based from the last meeting.
Facing the Select Committee, Omar Gay, Registrar of the Pharmacy Council, told lawmakers he has not submitted any documents as he did not receive any request from the committee to that effect.
I must admit that the attachment was missing. So that is why we could not, provide anything, as I was coming. The letter was even scanned to all my members of council. They can attest to it. But then the attachment was missing. So that is why we could not submit anything.
The chair of the Select Committee, Honorable Amadou Kamara, clarifies that the request was sent. However, he says the committee wants the document submitted by the latest tomorrow, Tuesday, October 25th. The committee is requesting the following documents from the Pharmacy Council: categories and pharmacies registered in the Gambia, list and types of license holders in the Gambia, the Pharmacy Council Act 2014, and the Pharmacy Council Regulations 2018. Among those present at Monday's hearing are Muhammad Lamin Jaite, PS, Ministry of Health, and S.R. Marina, Director of Evaluation, Registration and Inspection at the Medicines Control Agency. Answane Sonyasi for KTV News.
From that, traffic congestion in urban Gambia is a nightmare for motorists, passengers as well as pedestrians during rush hour especially. The situation is not only acute during rush hours but also when it rains. Lole Kamara was out and engaged some drivers and commuters on the issue.
Drivers and commuters have lamented the delays caused by the traffic congestion and also loss of income for drivers and private vehicle owners as they spend hours in traffic, burning more fuel as vehicles move at a snail pace. Some of the people we spoke to said there are not enough roads in the Gambia to accommodate the increase in population and the increase in the number of vehicles. Other factors include illegal parking of vehicles along our roads, heaps of gravel and sand at building sites, spilling out onto roads, and the negative attitude of selfish drivers. Along the Senegambia highway towards the traffic lights on Carava Avenue, vehicles were moving very slowly. Samba Bite, a taxi driver plying the Westfield traffic lights route, said the job is frustrating, but they have to make ends meet.
Driving is not an easy job because the roads are tight and the cost of fuel is high. Even if we have passengers, the police are everywhere to monitor us. And if we happen to park or pick a customer at some places, we will be in trouble.
Yusuf Adanso, a parent, said he runs late every day, taking his children to school and to go to work, adding that the traffic sometimes is so congested that he walks from Bambo to Tipa Garage. He gave these suggestions.
The government should work towards the rehabilitation of more federal roads to reduce the traffic jams.
Alaji Sambu and Musa Jallo are both drivers plying the Baka Westfield Highway.
Traffic jams are becoming a major problem for drivers. My car is not that good, and this morning, while coming from Birkama towards Westfield, it had a breakdown because of the slow traffic. When cars move slowly, that can cause problems to the engine, or the fuel runs out quickly. And our biggest problem here is the few roads we do have are too tight. The roads are not very good. Secondly, the way we park on the road is another issue. Some of the drivers do not park off the road when passengers are alighting, narrowing the road space for others. These are some of the problems that makes us run at a loss.
Major roads such as the Westfield Tabokoto Highway, Serakunda and the Batin Hardin Highway are among the busiest. It can sometimes take up to 2 hours just to get from Westfield to Tabokoto, a journey that should take less than 10 minutes. Feeder roads are recommended to ease the problem. Therefore, unless more, better, and proper roads are constructed, traffic congestion is here to stay. For QTV News, Lole Kamara.
Traffic congestion is obviously here to stay without the right measures. Now, from that, a high-level presidential delegation from the Republic of Korea held talks with President Adama Barrow on Monday linked to a project to address food security in the Gambia. The delegation comprised food experts whose engagement with President focused on capacity building for Gambia in modern agricultural technologies for food self-sufficiency. Modulamin Choi was there and fastened this report.
Just over a month after sending a high-level delegation, the President of the Republic of Korea has sent another such delegation to the Gambia to meet President Adama Barrow in relation to a project that seeks to positively address the Gambia's food insecurity. The delegation is accompanied by the Ambassador of the Republic of Korea to the Gambia, based in Dakar, and the Republic of Korea's Honorary Consul in the Gambia. After meeting President Adama Barrow, the head of the Presidential Envoy delegation, Cho Se-shu, via a translator, briefs the press on the purpose of the visit and gives highlights of the talks with President Barrow.
I'm here because of the fact that the President of Korea heard that there's an issue of a food security crisis in the Gambia, and he asked me to find a way to help the Gambia. the most important part for agriculture and the rice self-sufficiency is the seed production and the cultivation. But the most important factor is a capacity building, and Korea has plentiful experience in that area, and we will help the Gambia for that aspect. And other than rice, and if cooperation is, if there's a need for cooperation for other crops and such, then there will be a working level discussions. And through that effort, Korean government wishes to help the Gambia to increase self-sufficiency rate and to develop agriculture sector.
The pilot phase of the food security project is implemented with a high-yielding Korean rice variety called Tongil, which yields more than double the highest-yielding rice variety in the Gambia. 1,000 kilograms of the rice variety has been planted with some positive signs of adaptability in the Gambia. Dr. Demba Sabali, the Gambia's Minister of Agriculture, expresses interest and willingness for the Gambia to learn from the Republic of Korea for capacity building in modern agriculture technologies and techniques to enable the Gambia to make a leap towards food self-sufficiency.
This country cannot go to food self-sufficiency if we do not have the capacity to do technology transfer, that is, to go into mechanization and industrialize agriculture. And they've recognized that through their very serious envoy here, Dr. Ja, that Gambia needs to go into mechanization. So they are going to and are ready to help us in the areas of capacity building. Already we've talked about irrigation engineers, we've talked about seed breeders, we've talked about different sectors.
The first port of call of the Presidential Envoy delegation is the Finance and Economic Affairs Ministry, where the delegation held talks with the Finance Minister, C.D. Keita, on the food security project.
We also discussed with them other bilateral areas of cooperation in terms of support, particularly in this crisis period. And we've requested their help in these moments. We believe they have the capacity and the resources to be able to do so. And they are ably represented by their Consul General, Muhammad Jija, who is an entrepreneur and will support the private sector dimension of the intervention.
At the core of the implementation of the project is a public-private partnership with the Q Group, whose chairman, Mohamed Ja, doubles as the honorary consul of the Republic of Korea in the Gambia. Mr. Ja thanks the Gambia government and President Barrow for the Gambia government's commitment and support to the project, adding that there is much to be learned from Korea and much to be benefited from the public-private partnership for this project.
This is the first phase. Of course, the second phase is now to go into big-time, cultivation. We're looking at about 10,000 hectares with a pilot project of 1,000 hectares. And government is working very hard. The president has set up a high-level ministerial committee to look into the land issues and look into the land allocation, and we are almost at the tail end of it. If land is allocated, I think the project will be very successful because the Korean government is ready to support the Gambia. We have discussed, as Minister has said, now that we are going into large scale, we need to have capacity. And I want to just reiterate our commitment at the Q Group level that this is a commitment to the country. This is the commitment to the people of Gambia to move and have this behind us once and for all.
The Republic of Korea-Gambia relationship has grown rapidly and has been greatly strengthened. The diplomatic ties between the two friendly countries is yielding results and benefits. The latest being the Republic of Korea supporting the Gambia with its pressing challenge of addressing food insecurity during a global food crisis. Mahmoud Lamin Choi, QTV News.
Brilliant initiative there. Looking forward to the results. From that story by Mahmoud Lamin Choi, we will now go for a short commercial break. And when we come back, we have some more local news stories for you as well as sports. Do stay tuned.
Wait, LG, thank you. Yup, thanks to LG ThinQ, I can operate and get cycle updates from my AIDD front-load washing machine without even stepping foot in the laundry room. I can be busy with rehearsals on a conference call. and still do my laundry. Or watching series, glued to my couch and too lazy to get up. My life made easy with LG ThinQ.
To make sure your company's products and services reach your potential customers, it is essential that you choose the right channel for your marketing purposes. QTV has the widest reach locally and beyond, and we can give your business the visibility it needs. Call QTV Marketing on +220 324 4444 or email us at marketing@qtv.gm and take your business to the world.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV News, and I am Jenna Bosonko. Still on local news, in most African countries, communities had and continue to complain about the negative impact of industrial agro-commodities companies on their environment. One organization trying to prevent further human rights violations and environmental damage is the Friends of the Earth, whose members are in the Gambia for the 73rd Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. Aliou Cisse spoke to some of them, and he now reports.
Rights advocates from across Africa are meeting in Banjul for the Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights to assess and discuss the current state of human rights on the continent. Speaking to QTV on the sidelines of the meeting, Rita Owoka, coordinator, Forest and Biodiversity Program for Friends of the Earth organization, deplored what she termed an unending violation linked with the activities of agro-commodities companies in Africa, all in the name of development that only end up feeding private pockets and foreign markets. Rita and her team intend to use the meeting to boost advocacy against environmental rights violations.
There is a corporate gang up against our land, taking over of our lands, land grabbing, and that is fueling a lot of conflicts. There are a lot of conflicts in different countries in Africa as a result of this land grab. And the companies are using divide and rule tactics to continue to make this conflict to flourish. And it's affecting human rights defenders because when they speak out, they are silenced, they are arrested, they are molested, they are tortured. Also, they are forced to go on exile.
Beyond this meeting, Ms. Owoka says Friends of the Earth will continue to engage national governments to influence policies that favor the protection of the rights of indigenous people and environmental rights defenders.
Your focus should be public interest, not private interest. You know, most of the time, some of our governments prefer support private interest over public interest. So we are saying no, we need to have a government in place whose concern and priority is for any kind of investment, it should be for public good, not for private interest, because most of the time it's just to make profits. They make profit, they don't care about the social, environmental and gender impacts of the operations.
James Otto of the Sustainable Development Institute, a Liberia-based environmental rights organization which is part of the Global Federation of the Friends of the Earth, said they have been working with the African Commission on Human and People's Rights to highlight some of the issues related to land, human rights and the environment.
I think that is a barrack for any governance or maybe towards improving governance and democracy in the region, because most of the issues that are happening in Africa are based on resources, and resources are tied along land and forest. So improving those governance side of those different areas related to land, related to forest are very fundamental in improving human rights in the region. Once you start addressing the way concession behaves, when you start addressing the way concessions live and in compliance with existing national regulation and international framework, you kind of start laying the basis for correcting the norms and the practices of the concession in abusing human rights and environmental harms.
Friends of the Earth say the struggle against corporate takeover of forest and land for industrial plantation expansion by multinational corporations isn't a fight against development, but a struggle to prevent further human rights violations and environmental damages, among others. Friends of the Earth is the regional chapter of the Friends of the Earth International, the largest grassroots environmental justice group with a presence in 76 countries around the world. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
From that story by Aliou Cisse, we will now take a look at what is happening in the world of sports. Do stay. Konybe FC have been relegated after finishing bottom of Group D in the Birkama Nawatan. They needed a win in their last group game against Daru United to avoid the drop but fell short. Our sports reporter Mamudu Gajaga was at the Birkama Mini Stadium and he now reports.
They just needed at least a goal to avoid relegation. Even though Konybe FC were closed on numerous occasions, they failed to score. Going into the game with just a single point with massive negative goal difference of -5, anything less than a win would end their Nawatan season on a low. They certainly made efforts to score and several goal-scoring chances were missed by the Konybe players. However, Daru United also had a few moments which could have led to a goal, but they also failed to score. Yankuba Sanyang, coach of Konybe FC, says he is disappointed that his team didn't make the best of their chances.
Yeah, my team has created a lot of chances. We played the whole game. What is football? I mean, sometimes you can play the whole game, you will be throwing a lot of chances. But if you have bad luck, nothing you can do. Though I'm so disappointed, I mean, a little bit, not that much, you know. Despite I was expecting a win. Because the chances that we lost in the first half and the second half, I mean, it's bunches of chances.
Bakary Mane, coach of Daru United, says he knew his team would be playing a tough game against Konybe as the latter team had so much to play for.
Yeah, honestly, I know it was not going to be easy, you know, because this is a team, you know, that lost almost 2 of their games, you know, so I know today it was not going to be easy, honestly. Yeah, Daru is a big team. If anybody who knows Daru in Birkama, you know that Daru is a big team. So every team we are going to meet, they prepare 100% for Daru. But, you know, we know all the ways, you know, we're going to pass, you know, through the round of 16. You know.
Konybe finished bottom of Group D on 2 points, while Daru United finished second on 5 points and progressed to the round of 16. Mamudu Gajaga, QTV News.
Konybe FC, right? Interesting name there. Now, before we leave, let's recap our main headlines. A high-level presidential delegation from the Republic of Korea held talks with President Adama Barrow on Monday, linked to a project to address food security in the Gambia. As the National Assembly launches an investigation into the acute kidney injury deaths, the Executive Director of the Medicines Control Agency and the Registrar of the Pharmacy Council submitted documents to the Select Committee on Health relating to the importation and regulation of medicines and pharmacies in the Gambia. Traffic congestion in urban Gambia is a nightmare for motorists, passengers, as well as pedestrians, especially during rush hours. We heard from some drivers and commuters on the issue. And on the sidelines of the 73rd Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, members of Friends of the Earth held a forum on the negative impact of industrial agro-commodities companies on the environment. And in sports news, Konybe FC have been relegated after finishing bottom of Group D in Birkama Nawatan. Well, that is all we have for you in this edition of QTV News. Don't forget to join us at 10 p.m. for another bulletin. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening.